Hello and welcome to Division F podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Division F podcast.
Hello and welcome to Division F's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Division F's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Division F's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Division F podcast. Do you need a real source of inspiration? Is it possible for you to read multiple genre of books in a single day itself? Do you want to know how to become a person who can inspire many with a small smile, with the right content and delivery when you're addressing a group of people? If yes, then this is for you.
Hello and welcome to Division F's podcast. I'm Toastmaster Akash from KCG Youthmasters, and I will be your host for today. Are you looking for a source of true inspiration? Do you want to become an effective mentor? Then this episode is for you. We have today with us a very special guest, known for her excellent leadership and mentorship abilities. She has been the executive coach of public speaking for CEOs. She's the author of the book, Navigating Corporate Seas, which is a practical guide to corporate life. She was the past district governor and chief judge for District 82. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to DTM Nina John. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. We're glad you could join us today.
Good afternoon, Akash. I love the idea of a podcast, so very happy to be here.
Okay, ma'am. Let's start with the beginning of your Toastmasters journey. You've been a Toastmaster since 2003. So can you please tell us more about how you got started?
Well, I was already doing some kind of public speaking and training in public speaking. And I thought maybe I should start an organization or some kind of a club for people to have practice in public speaking and things. And along came a Toastmaster who met me at one of the seminars that I was conducting. And he told us about Toastmasters. A group of us got together, and that is how Chennai Toastmasters started. And that is how Tamil Nadu Toastmasters, District 82, and now District 120 started.
Oh, that's amazing. So kind of all of our origin stories lead back to you in a sense.
Yes.
So how would you describe Toastmasters to somebody who has never heard of it? Like, how did the Toastmaster who introduced you to it, how did he tell you? Or what would you say today?
Well, if it was someone I'm meeting for the first time, and this also has happened several times, we talk about Toastmasters and we say it's an educational, public speaking, and leadership organization. See, a lot of people are interested in public speaking. They all want to be great orators and they want to, conquer the stage and all of those things. But public speaking is more than just that. It's also your ability to speak up in the office meetings. It's your ability to make your opinion heard. It's your ability to question things. And to quote a very, very old slogan from Toastmasters, you learn first to speak, then you learn how to speak up, and then you learn how to speak out. And while you're doing all these things, you unconsciously absorb a lot of things in terms of leadership. And 1 year in Toastmasters is enough to transform you to a higher level of whatever speaking level you started with, and definitely makes you a better leader in whatever context you are operating. So I would say Toastmasters is very definitely a transformational agency that will change your life.
Really well said, ma'am. I've also always felt this. Toastmasters is what you make it to be, but whatever you do, it makes your life better in whichever aspect of life you want it to work on. Moving on, what advice would you give to women in Toastmasters?
For women in Toastmasters, I think Toastmasters is a fabulous platform if you use it properly. Most often, women's voices are suppressed, and there's a lot of these spouse jokes, where gentlemen come and say, oh, we joined Toastmasters so that I can speak because I can't. And I would say very often it's the reverse. Women very rarely get a chance to make their voices heard, their views heard, make their perspectives understood. And once you learn the tools, the tips, the techniques to do that, you become a more powerful human being, I would say, because now you're able to contribute better to your family. You're able to contribute better to your community. And you can be a far more rounded, holistic personality than you were earlier. And believe me, that's as important, if not more important, for women than it is for men. And I would also say Toastmasters offers you the right platform for leadership, climbing the hierarchy. All you have to do is seize the opportunities and you can do great things. Back to you.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. Definitely Toastmasters is the place where you can really climb up and improve your own self-confidence. So, as a mentor, because you're really well known around the Toastmasters community for your mentorship, as a mentor, what qualities do you expect from your mentees? Do you expect them to be more passive in nature or explorative in nature?
I think that's too sweeping a generalization because every mentee or protege, as we call them, comes to Toastmasters with a different set of expectations, with a different set of competencies, and with an entirely different personality than each of the others. So a good mentor is one who can understand these and can channelize that mentee's energy into speeches, leadership, volunteering opportunities, all kinds of things. And the mentor must be able to recognize when you can challenge the mentee to grow as far as possible. So how well do you nurture the mentee is a really important thing for Toastmasters.
All right, ma'am. That was really well said. Can you also share your views on how powerful motivational praise can be?
Well, I'll give you one incident from our very early conferences that we had. We used to have, our district was so widespread. We had members from Hyderabad, Mangalore, Kochi, Sri Lanka, Delhi. So all of these would converge for the conferences here in Chennai. So when we had the district conference, logistics meant we had to ensure details about when are all the delegates arriving, how are they doing, things like that. And there were two particular Toastmasters, one of whom, I was like, please, I know it's a volunteer organization, but unless you step up to the plate, we cannot deliver a fantastic conference. The very next day, Toastmaster X was at the railway station at 4 a.m. in the morning, collecting the delegates and bringing them to the hotel. And talk about motivation, Toastmaster Y decided this is not for me and actually quit. So that's what I said. Each Toastmaster is different. Each mentee is different. Each one will react differently. But motivation, even at the club level, everyone is so happy to get that best speaker ribbon. They're so happy to get certificates from Toastmasters. Public recognition is the best, most powerful motivational tool that you can have. So don't be sparing in your praise. And always remember, scold in private, praise in public. Back to you, Akash.
Right, ma'am. That was definitely very well said. In fact, I went for my very first icebreaker speech all nervous and yet somehow managed to get the best speaker of the meeting. And that public recognition, as you mentioned, that public recognition was so motivating that I kept that spirit, kept that fire and worked even harder towards Toastmasters. And I'm still in that mode right now. So That was really well said, ma'am. So you've been a Toastmaster for quite a long time. So what is the one thing from the old days that has kind of changed with time and has got lost, but you miss it?
I would say the camaraderie and the friendship, which went far, a very long way. The kind of Toastmaster friends that we met when we met at our first set of conferences, we've become friends for life, family friends. We go on, meetings and invite people for your family weddings and that kind of stuff. Now, what has also happened is the movement has grown so much bigger, and thanks to COVID and lockdown, the isolation has increased to a tremendous extent. So I would say yes. And of course, in the early days, you won't believe it. We used to go, there were about 6 or 7 of us Toastmasters who would be crammed into one ambassador car, and then we would go from Ananagar to Shalinganallur or wherever it was, to do a demo meet. and we'd come back. Whereas now, area directors and all literally don't have that much time and effort to create a new club. When I say DTM, all of us feel we earned our DTMs through blood, sweat, and tears. And I miss that a lot.
Especially with COVID, everything has become easy. You can just put it online, but there is some sort of connect that is also lost when you go online. So in a volunteer organization like Toastmasters, do you think members should just settle for doing the bare minimum and getting by? Or should they go beyond the best that they've got?
There's something called the ABCD principle, above and beyond the call of duty. And I think if you apply that in your Toastmasters life, it will spill over to your professional, personal, and other life. And you will realize doing that little bit extra, or, sitting a few minutes more with somebody, doing things over and above exactly what the syllabus says or what your KR is prescribed. All of that is a guideline. In pursuit of excellence, you have to travel that extra mile. And that's the only thing that will serve you. And that has nothing to do with Toastmasters. Either you do it or you don't. Remember that ABCD, above and beyond the call of duty.
Right. Toastmaster provides, as you mentioned, a guideline for us to do the basics, but it's up to each of us to convert that to whatever we want to achieve in life and to what degree. So as you mentioned, how much ever we put into it, we're going to get multifolds of that in return. So apart from Toastmasters, what is another one of your big interests or passions that you do in life?
Well, I love meeting people and I love food. So as I was telling somebody, I'm a seafood lover. Whatever food I see, I love. So I have absolutely no problem with anything. And I love meeting people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I stay in Toastmasters, because you meet such a diverse spectrum of people. I mean, interests, hobbies, backgrounds, qualities, competencies, whatever it is, it's great. And especially now with COVID, we've all actually got the opportunity to interact with Toastmasters overseas. And that's a huge advantage. So I would say Toastmasters is my first passion. Travel and meeting people would be the next. And of course, public speaking would be on the list as well.
Wonderful, ma'am. Do you have any interesting travel stories that you could share with us? A short story.
Well, we had a district conference in Goa. And all of us had booked our tickets, as usual, the conference is in May. We had booked our tickets around January or February or something. And a week before we were due to take off, the airline sends us a message and says, oh, we've switched to summer timing. So from Chennai to Goa, you have the flight going is fine, but the return flight, you have to come, you have to break and take another flight from Mumbai. Oh my God, that was crazy because the Goa flight took off late, it reached Mumbai late, and then I had to make this connecting flight, which means I had to first collect my luggage through 3 joint families who'd all gone for a vacation together off that conveyor belt, run to the airline's counter. And of course, Murphy's Law, that had to be the last counter, in that huge airport setup. I reached there panting, and then the girl says, oh, I'm sorry, the counter is closed. I can't do anything. I said, no way, because I had a family situation at home. I had to get back. So she says, no, you have to take another flight. I said, I'm not going to spend the night in Mumbai airport. You get your manager here now. She actually did that. 2 minutes is all it took for me to explain the situation to him. And you will not believe it, but all that practice in Toastmasters, table topics, prepared speeches, the works, everything worked. This gentleman took my suitcase in his hand, short of holding my hand, he did everything, took me through a side passage into one of the buses. I was the only passenger in the bus. He came with me, put me into the aircraft, which had actually shut its doors. They opened it, let me in, and I just kind of collapsed in that chair. And it 100% thanks to Toastmasters for that. Otherwise, I would not have been able to bundle up that entire story into 2 minutes and convince the guy because, assertiveness, all of that added up together. And I got my flight back in the night.
Wow, that's wonderful. More than just a travel story, this is an example of how Toastmasters can benefit us in our daily lives, in fact.
Yes.
Something like this could happen even in the store or the grocery store or maybe any other place. And, that's where Toastmasters, being assertive, and as you mentioned, concising things in the limited time, all of that ties into deliver a nice package to whoever we're speaking to.
Exactly. As I keep saying, Toastmasters can help you even in your residence housing association if you have a association meeting or you want to make a complaint to the secretary, or if you're the secretary, if you want to take care of it. All of that, good public speaking takes care of that.
Yes, ma'am. Very true. Okay, so let's wrap it up with this final question. What is the one thing about Toastmasters that makes it essential for everybody in their life?
Communication, effective communication. Because without we think of public speaking only as, standing at a podium and, orations and, great speeches by President Obama or President Zelensky or whatever. But you need to communicate. You need to communicate with your family. You need to communicate with your spouse. You need to communicate with your siblings at the office. You need to make sure that everyone knows what you are doing. You are able to contribute much more productively at any particular kind of meeting. All these things together add up. And believe me, it gives you a far more rounded personality. Your writing improves, your reading improves, your speaking improves, and you're listening. All of these. So effective communication to the next level, that's what Toastmasters does.
Definitely, I agree, ma'am. As you mentioned, it's not just for CEOs or presidents or the top brass. Toastmasters is for anybody, even students like me. We have to talk to our parents, we have to talk to our teachers, classmates, maybe outsiders. So while talking to all of these people, Toastmasters and what you learn from here becomes very useful. And that applies to a variety of other professions and experiences.
Absolutely.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Nina John, for taking out the time to be with us today and sharing your insightful thoughts and stories about your life as a Toastmaster. I hope you had a really good time. And I hope you had a really good time, ma'am.
I really did. I was just going to say that that was a very well conducted interview, very clear, concise, and precise. So good job.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And also thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in for this episode of the Division F podcast. We'll meet you with another exemplary Toastmaster on the next episode.